Well, is that the end of the dump, or are we looking at more? Obviously, today is the Black Monday that everybody was super hyped up for. Our total percentage drop from our all-time high down to the low for the S&P 500 is now officially 21.5%. There we go, ladies and gents. We have officially fully retraced back down to the previous all-time high, which is absolutely fine. See, that wasn't too bad, was it? That wasn't too bad. Come on, man. Everybody was making such a big deal out of it. I don't think that was too bad. 21.5%. There is still, some implications that this could go lower. We're not going to focus on that right now. What we want to look at is Bitcoin and what this might mean for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has managed to settle low at about 74K. It's punched in a very aggressive low, though, and it has recovered quite nicely now. There are 4 hours left on this daily candle, and if Bitcoin can close this daily candle up here, that is going to be a good sign for the rest of this trading week. It doesn't mean that we're good, but it certainly means that we're not as fucked as we thought we were. And I think that that is probably around about the best that you're going to get in this market right now, unfortunately. Now, if we zoom in onto, let's say, the 5-minute time frame and really look at how this happened, I think this really tells us quite a clear story. Now, if we look at the last time that Bitcoin kind of fell below this $80,000 price range, we made pretty quick work of this range, right? I mean, we didn't hang around for too long. Basically to confidently get back above the range, it took basically just over a day, so about 27 hours. On this occasion here, we're not actually back above, but if you do look at what this bounce has done, it's very, very similar to last time. Okay, we're getting a quick drop down, and then we're recovering most of that more or less in the same amount of time that we dropped down in. Okay, it was 12 hours to come down and 8 hours on the way back up. So broadly speaking, pretty similar time frames in order to drop and recover, which is a very strong sign of the bulls still having some level of control, and more importantly, a very strong sign that the bears do not have total control. And that's important because, again, if it was not the case, if it was actually the case that instead Bitcoin only managed to get up to about 78K and then kind of trended down, then you might expect significantly more kind of downside price action to come. By the way, this is super short-term analysis. Midterm, we can still definitely get down to 72 and even 60s. But we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes as well. If you're excited for that, do me a favor and smash up the likes on this YouTube video as you are coming in. Double check that you are subscribed as well for this absolutely fantastic, time-sensitive, and very realistic, grounded, calm analysis here. But that's what the first thing that we see is showing us. It's showing us that there is still some kind of strength in this market. If we zoom out onto the hourly and we kind of start putting this in perspective of what we've done within this price range already, then what we can see over here, I think quite clearly, is there is, basically this kind of low that Bitcoin has been just holding on to recently now, which, if Bitcoin can continue to hold on to this, then we've essentially kind of entered a new range where, this could serve as support. We are grabbing at straws. I don't think that any of these ranges can last particularly long, and that's why I think that, what we're doing here, it is a dangerous position, right? I mean, we've now back tested this level and, quite clearly found resistance as well. I mean, that wasn't really the case over here, and it certainly wasn't the case back here on these previous fake outs. But on this one here, we clearly got resistance, and we're clearly trading a little bit lower now. So, that is going to, clearly, I think, represent to us that this range, 81.5 or whatever, is going to be a bit of a contentious zone for Bitcoin now. But more importantly, if Bitcoin can get above that range, it's actually going to be a really big deal, right? It would be more of a big deal now than if it happened yesterday, because now we have a rejection that's been punched in, okay? And the reason that that's a big deal is we now have a technical reason to expect problems at this range. I mean, we already did because we knew that old support turns into new resistance, but it's now been validated. And that's, getting above this level now, that makes it a bigger deal than, if we just faked out and recovered back up the next day like the previous two times, okay? And the reason that it makes it a bigger deal in my books is it's just harder. It's harder to recover when you've confirmed resistance than it is when, the market doesn't really know what's going on and the market hasn't fully absorbed the drop. If the market hasn't fully absorbed it psychologically, for example, then it's actually quite easy to, just recover back above your resistance levels. And, it kind of happens like you're slicing through butter with a hot knife kind of thing, right? But on this occasion here, it's going to be a lot harder. It's more like hitting a cinder block. And that's going to make it a little bit harder to kind of get Bitcoin above this range. But if Bitcoin can get above this range, it makes it all the more important that, it's kind of indicating that we're kind of back on a recovery path. Now, I don't think that this is really, a Bitcoin discussion. I've been saying this for quite some time. It is, pretty much purely going to be an S&P 500 thing. this is a shit chart. Just the way it looks right here, you know, I mean, it's just bad. But the good news is, you know, even if this thing does drop more from here, you know, typically, unless we're looking at a black swan, and I really do not think we're looking at a black swan with the amount of people that think we're looking at a black swan. The people are so fucking stupid. I just can't, like, I cannot get my head around some of these people in this market right here. We've been shit posting pretty well on Twitter right here. Check me out with the link in the description below. You know, and I've been, you know, I mean, just Black Monday, like, you guys have been so, maybe not you guys watching, but just in general, people have been so dramatic in this market over the last hours. By the way, this is hilarious. Crypto bros cooking dinner tonight, just with some ice cubes, making a gourmet style, I don't know, preparation a ritual, but I don't know, just hilarious, But you know, one thing that I would like to point out is minus 22%. If we did end up getting such a big crash, it would be historic. And if you're poor, if you don't have much money, then these are actually the best opportunities that you could ever ask for. You know, this is really, like, it's times like this where the little guy actually really has a chance to make a lot of money, because the little guy can pivot. They have less to lose, and they can kind of get with the new times a little bit faster. And you're going to see that kind of bigger companies struggle doing that a little bit. So that's mainly, you know, going to be like a business opportunities type thing, but it's also definitely very, 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 very valid in the crypto markets. And what that would mean for us is, you know, lower prices, potentially better buying opportunities, better opportunities to kind of flip things for a quick 2x or whatever. If they drop really, really hard, they might kind of bounce really hard as well. You know, it's not easy. We're talking about knife catching in some cases here, so don't expect it to be easy anyway. But certainly your effort will take you further at these kind of points in markets, right? But more than, you know, kind of when things are going sideways. But again, bringing it back to the S&P 500, you know, obviously this is a chart that's still kind of pointing downwards. It's really hard to say if this could change. You know, painting Trump as a villain that, you know, is only bad for you and, you know, whatever is not realistic or productive. You know, and he is obviously a hell of a lot smarter than you and I both are, and my God, if you disagree with that, then I don't know, dude. Like, why are you not president? You know what I mean? Like, it's just not the case, right? He's obviously lapping all of us in terms of how smart he is. You know, not just as a president, right? Like, this was the case before he even entered public office. He was just incredibly successful. Don't love the guy, but the truth is the truth, right? I'm not going to be emotional about it. And I think that's important because, you know, if you're kind of, you know, because a lot of people have been trying to get ahead of him in these cases now and like forecast how this is going to go. You know, and again, it's like, you know, I think if you really were so good at forecasting, then, you know, probably you should be a lot richer, right? You know, maybe you're not actually that good at forecasting. Maybe you're just kind of echoing what everybody else is telling you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you're just smarter than that. But if you are, then you probably don't belong on this channel because we're probably too dumb for you, right? So, you know, I think with all of that in mind, this can flip pretty easily, pretty quickly for seemingly no reason, almost just kind of based on Trump's mood, perhaps. It's not a nice thing to know or talk about, but, you know, like I said, the truth stays the truth regardless of how you feel about it. This could really turn around pretty quick. Am I expecting it to? No, not really, but it's not that I'm not expecting it to because I don't have faith in them. It's more so because I just don't have expectations, full stop. That would lead to sadness. That would lead to disappointment. And quite frankly, I don't want either of those emotions when I'm trading. I don't want sadness or happiness. I just want neutrality. And that is what you're seeing me bring to you guys right here on this YouTube channel as well. So again, if you do appreciate that, then obviously great chance to get subscribed and kind of really soak up this content. Now, Bitcoin against Bitcoin dominance has peaked basically at about 64% again. It's pulling back a little bit now. It has sent Ethereum below 0.2 BTC, and I just did not expect this, man. I just did not expect that Ethereum can kind of come down to this final zone of support that I have here at about 0.17. We're so close to it. It seems like it just doesn't even fucking matter, you know, to be honest. But I mean, like, just look at this. I mean, you know, this is just such a generational buy. And I think that a lot of the market is kind of, you know, setting itself up in that position now. We do have XRP right here taking a shit, really in quite a bad situation, actually. This is exactly what I said would happen yesterday on stream. And lo and behold, that is what we are now dealing with right now. XRP against Bitcoin, though, is still looking good. So, this doesn't have to be a tragedy story. This could definitely just be, kind of fake out that recovers. But that's not going to be up to XRP, is it? That's going to be up to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's kind of just doing what XRP is doing anyway. Bitcoin's going to move to the pulse of the S&P most likely. That correlation is already back. We kind of fixed the gap where Bitcoin was stable during the crash, and it did end up kind of performing poorly afterwards after a few days. Admittedly, it's not doing anywhere near as bad as the S&P 500, so there is still definitely a case that Bitcoin serves as some sort of hedge. It's just that perhaps confidence isn't as high as we might have wanted it to be for Bitcoin, but that's totally okay for now. I do think that if we kind of lose some of the levels that we're at right now, we're down to about 72. If we get above 81, then we're up to about kind of 88 for resistance. And other than that, not much has changed, man. Not much has changed. There's not too much to read into here. We don't need to be too dramatic or upset or excited about it in any particular direction. The market's just kind of doing what it's doing, and bless you if you have the same kind of somewhat bored, relaxed approach to the market as I do. We both understand, if you have this approach with me, we both understand that this is kind of the only way that you can do well in the markets over time. So if that's important to you, then you might quite enjoy this way of viewing the markets. But with that, ladies and gents, I will see you all in the next one. I hope you've enjoyed this one. You know what to do, and we'll see you all in the next one. Cheers.